Let's take a look at entering scientific notation on this calculator, the TI-30XS MultiView. It's nice. It's becoming pretty popular. It's a little more than twice the cost of some of your less expensive scientific calculators, but it's nice because it has a multi-view display. You get multiple lines in that display, and that's nice. Let's use Avogadro's number as our example. So we want to enter in 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd. And the way you do it on this calculator is you type 6.0221, hit the times 10 to the n key, and then type in 23. And then this is what you'll see on your display. 6.0221 asterisk times 10 to the 23rd. Remember, that's not really multiplication. So there's your number. And I would normally write it as 6.0221 times 10 to the 23rd. And what I like about this calculator is most of the scientific notation buttons say EE or EXP on it for exponential notation. And most students, unless you have a background in computer science, you see, EE or EXP. What the heck is that? So I like that this calculator says times 10 to the n. So for this one, scientific notation, you hit the times 10 to the n. Don't hit the multiplication key. Don't press the 10 to the x key. One thing I don't like about this calculator, though, is you have to be really careful with it. If you are multiplying or dividing with anything in scientific notation, well, actually it's dividing that's the problem. But if you don't do something, you're going to have a problem. And I'll show you that problem later on when we get into multiplication and division. But let me just say now, what you really need to do in this calculator for multiplying and dividing in scientific notation is you need to use the parentheses key. So you've got two parentheses keys, they're above the 8 and the 9 on this. You open the parentheses, you type in 6.0221, hit the times to the 10 to the n key, type in 23, and then close the parentheses. You do need to make sure the parentheses are around the whole number so it'll look like this. If you don't, you're going to have problems in division. Let's now take this calculator and force it to display information in scientific notation. It can be very useful to force a calculator to display scientific notation and then to take it back out of that. So it can be handy to learn how to do that. If you put in 0.00789 and then hit the enter key, lower right on there, if your calculator is in normal or standard notation, you'll see this. It'll just pair it back to you, 0.00789. Well, let's force the calculator to put that 0.00789 in scientific notation. What you'll do is you'll hit the mode key, because you want to change the display mode. And when you press that key, you will see this show up on the display. It's the second row that I'm interested in. Norm, Sci, Eng. Those are three different display modes. Norm means normal, Sci means scientific notation, and ENG is engineering notation. Now, totally ignore the engineering notation for our class. It's really norm and sci. Norm means normal display. That display on the top, 0.00789, that's normal display. We want scientific notation display. What you will do is take those little arrow keys and you will scroll down one line so the norm is flashing, and then you'll scroll it over so the sci is flashing. It'll look sort of like this. I mean, the norm will be selected still, but the sci will be flashing. See, whatever is selected and whatever is not flashing but is selected, those are the current display modes. We want the sci to be selected and flashing at the same time. What you'll do is press the enter key. So now the cursor's on sci, it's flashing, and it's also solid. You'll see what I mean. You got to see it to see what I mean. That does make sense, even though it sounds strange. Now we need to quit out of this and get back into the normal, not normal display, into the regular display. What you'll do is you'll hit the second key. On this calculator, the second acts kind of like a temporary caps lock. What happens after you press the second button, then any other button you press, you'll actually access the green function. Many of the keys, if you look at the calculator right now, many of the keys have a green function above it. That's accessed by pressing second. So you'll press the mode key, but we don't want mode because we're already in mode. What we want to do is quit out of mode. So this accesses the green quit, and then what you will see is this. If you hit enter again, your 0.0079 will be shown, and then it will pop it into scientific display mode, which is there on the bottom, 7.89 times 10 to the minus 3. If you want to put it back into, you can think of it as floating or normal or standard mode, you would make sure that the cursor has selected norm on that row. And then what norm does is if the number is not too big and it's not too small, it'll display it in decimal notation. But then if it gets too big or too small, it automatically puts it in scientific notation display, because it's too big or it's too small. But scientific notation mode, like we put it into, that forces it to always display the number in scientific notation.